NASCAR's charter system, long touted as the foundation of its competitive structure, now faces an unprecedented challenge. For the past few months, NASCAR has been in a legal battle with 2311 Racing and Front Row Motorsports over the new charter agreement. Now, the judge has made a ruling that sparks major trouble for NASCAR's future. NASCAR's hopes of quickly putting an end to the antitrust lawsuit brought by 2311 Racing and Front Row Motorsports have been shattered by a federal judge's latest ruling. U.S. District Judge Kenneth Bell's decision to deny NASCAR's motion to dismiss the case is a significant setback for the organization, as it ensures the claims of monopolistic practices and anti-competitive behavior will now be fully explored in court. This ruling strikes at the core of NASCAR's defense, which has consistently framed its charter system as a fair and collaborative agreement designed to benefit both the sport and its teams. By allowing the lawsuit to proceed, the judge has dismantled NASCAR's hopes of avoiding the detailed scrutiny of its policies and business practices. Instead, the case will enter the discovery phase, where evidence will be collected and reviewed, potentially revealing the inner workings of NASCAR's governance. Adding to NASCAR's challenges, Judge Bell also rejected their motion to impose significant financial bonds on 2311 Racing and Front Row Motorsports, further undermining the organization's strategy to protect itself financially during the ongoing legal battle. The requested bond, which would have required the teams to post millions of dollars as a safeguard, was deemed unjustified by the court. This ruling also sets the stage for a high-profile trial that could reshape the future of NASCAR's structure. The allegations of monopolistic control, coupled with claims that NASCAR forced take-it-or-leave-it terms on teams under threat of dismantling the charter system, cast a harsh spotlight on the France family's leadership. NASCAR had likely hoped the lawsuit would be dismissed quickly, allowing it to avoid the public and financial consequences of a drawn-out legal battle. Instead, Judge Bell's ruling has destroyed those hopes, ensuring that NASCAR will now have to face a full examination of its practices, potentially risking further challenges to its governance model. For 2311 Racing and Front Row Motorsports, this decision represents a key victory in their fight for a more competitive and equitable structure within the sport. As the case moves forward, the spotlight will intensify on NASCAR's charter system, leaving the organization to brace for what could be a transformative moment in its history. The federal judge's decision to allow the antitrust lawsuit against NASCAR to move forward presents a golden opportunity for 2311 Racing and Front Row Motorsports to capitalize on their efforts to challenge the current power dynamics in the sport. With their claims of monopolistic practices and restrictive terms now under judicial scrutiny, these two teams are positioned to potentially reshape the structure of NASCAR and establish a more competitive and equitable environment. The ruling gives 2311 Racing and FRM access to the discovery phase, where they can delve into internal NASCAR documents and communications that could substantiate their allegations of anti-competitive behavior. This stage will allow the teams to build a compelling case by uncovering evidence of practices they claim favor NASCAR's tracks, suppliers, and select teams, while stifling competition. If these findings align with their assertions, it could not only strengthen their lawsuit, but also expose weaknesses in NASCAR's governance model to the broader industry and public. 2311 Racing and FRM have consistently framed themselves as advocates for fairness and competition within the sport. The judge's ruling validates their claims enough to warrant further examination, allowing the teams to double down on their narrative of challenging an entrenched system. They can use this momentum to rally support from other teams, sponsors, and fans who may also feel constrained by NASCAR's charter system and governance policies. The lawsuit's continuation could put pressure on NASCAR to reconsider the terms of its charter agreements and governance practices. By keeping the spotlight on their claims, 2311 and FRM might compel NASCAR to address concerns proactively, either through settlements or structural reforms, to avoid long-term damage to its reputation. This could result in more balanced agreements that empower teams and ensure the sustainability of the sport. The stance taken by 2311 and FRM positions them as disruptors fighting for a more equitable system, something that may resonate with potential sponsors and fans. Their willingness to take on NASCAR in a legal battle signals their commitment to fostering a healthier and more competitive environment in stock car racing, which could bolster their credibility and attract broader support. If the lawsuit ultimately results in favorable changes, 2311 Racing and FRM stand to gain not just financially, but also strategically. Revisions to the charter system or other policies could open up opportunities for more teams to thrive, reduce costs, and enhance competition on the track. For co-owners like Michael Jordan and Denny Hamlin at 2311 Racing, as well as Bob Jenkins at FRM, this case represents a chance to leave a lasting impact on the sport by leveling the playing field for future generations. By leveraging the momentum from this early victory, 2311 Racing and FRM can capitalize on the legal, financial, and reputational opportunities this case presents, potentially reshaping NASCAR's future and solidifying their own legacy within the sport. The lawsuit challenges NASCAR's charter system, alleging it imposes restrictive terms that stifle competition. A ruling in favor of the plaintiffs could force NASCAR to overhaul its charter agreements, potentially making them more transparent and equitable. This could result in a more balanced financial model where teams gain greater autonomy and more equitable revenue-sharing terms. If the court sides with 2311 and FRM, it could also diminish NASCAR's ability to enforce certain binding conditions on teams, potentially leading to a more open and competitive field. The ongoing legal proceedings, especially if they reach a trial or settlement phase, could lead to financial repercussions for NASCAR. The organization might be required to pay damages or adjust its revenue-sharing practices, which could reduce its financial stability. Additionally, NASCAR may face increased costs related to legal fees and other expenses associated with defending its position, further straining its resources. If 2311 Racing and FRM are successful, this case could set a legal precedent for other teams to challenge NASCAR's practices in the future. Teams dissatisfied with the current governance structure may feel empowered to demand greater input into policies affecting their operations, potentially leading to a broader shift in power dynamics within the sport. NASCAR's reputation as a fair and competitive league is central to its relationships with sponsors. The lawsuit and its potential revelations during the discovery phase could harm NASCAR's credibility and make sponsors wary of aligning with a sport embroiled in allegations of monopolistic practices. Conversely, 2311 Racing and FRM could strengthen their appeal to sponsors by positioning themselves as advocates for fairness and competition, potentially attracting new partnerships. This ruling could exacerbate divisions among NASCAR teams. While 2311 Racing and FRM have taken a bold stance, other teams may feel pressure to pick sides or remain neutral. A fractured grid could lead to complications in future negotiations with NASCAR and further disrupt the sport's unity. As the lawsuit progresses, NASCAR's leadership will demand significant time, attention, and resources. This prolonged focus on legal battles rather than the sport itself could detract from efforts to grow NASCAR's audience, innovate on-track competition, and enhance fan engagement. A federal judge's decision to allow the antitrust lawsuit filed by 2311 Racing and Front Row Motorsports against NASCAR to proceed has dealt a major blow to NASCAR's hopes of dismissal. The lawsuit alleges monopolistic practices and challenges the restrictive terms of NASCAR's charter system. This ruling grants 2311 and FRM access to the discovery phase, potentially exposing unfair practices and reshaping NASCAR's governance. Consequences could include financial strain, damaged credibility, and increased scrutiny of NASCAR's operations. Meanwhile, 2311 and FRM are positioned as advocates for fairness, potentially attracting broader support and influencing the sport's future structure.